The XF-108 Rapier represents one of the most ambitious but ultimately cancelled interceptor projects in American aviation history, created during a period when the United States sought extreme range, extreme speed aircraft to counter the threat of Soviet bombers during the Cold War. Designed by North American Aviation, the Rapier was envisioned as a long-range, Mach 3 interceptor that could operate far from American shores and eliminate high-altitude enemy bombers before they approached the homeland. Although it never entered production, the XF-108 remains a fascinating study in advanced engineering, innovative weapons technology, and the shifting strategic priorities that shaped U.S. military aviation in the late 1950s and early 1960s. The Rapier was conceived as an escort and partner aircraft to the XB-70 Valkyrie strategic bomber. Both aircraft were expected to operate at high altitudes exceeding 70,000 feet and at speeds around Mach 3, a performance level almost unheard of at the time. This speed requirement shaped nearly every aspect of the XF-108's design. Its sleek delta wing configuration, long fuselage, and sharp nose were optimized for supersonic cruise, giving it the aerodynamic profile needed to sustain extremely high speeds without losing stability. The airframe was to be constructed using heat-resistant materials capable of withstanding the tremendous thermal loads generated at Mach 3. The Rapier would have stood nearly 82 feet long, with a wingspan of almost 58 feet, placing it in the size category of large bombers rather than typical fighter aircraft. Powering the XF-108 were two General Electric J93 engines, the same engines intended for the XB-70. These engines were designed to produce extraordinary thrust for sustained Mach 3 flight, giving the Rapier both long-range capability and blistering speed. The Interceptor was expected to fly thousands of miles without refueling, enabling it to patrol remote Arctic regions where Soviet bombers were expected to approach. This massive range requirement was one of the defining features of the aircraft and a major reason for its large fuel capacity and overall size. The cockpit and avionics of the Rapier were equally advanced. It was planned to include one of the first fully integrated radar and fire control systems, giving the aircraft the ability to track multiple high-altitude targets at long distances. The Hughes AN/ASG-18 radar was specifically developed for the XF-108 and would later influence the weapons systems found on the F-14 Tomcat. Its radar was the largest and most powerful ever fitted to a fighter-type aircraft at that time, capable of detecting targets well beyond 100 miles. Paired with the radar was the AIM-47 Falcon missile, a long-range air-to-air weapon capable of engaging supersonic bombers or even cruise missile carriers far before they reached U.S. airspace. This missile system represented a major leap in interceptor technology and would later evolve into the AIM-54 Phoenix carried by the F-14. The crew layout also reflected the Rapier's futuristic approach. It was designed as a two-seat aircraft with a pilot and a dedicated weapons systems officer. This dual crew configuration allowed one crew member to focus solely on flying the aircraft at extreme speeds and altitudes while the other managed radar operations, target tracking, and long-range missile engagements. The cockpit would have been equipped with pressurization and environmental systems suitable for high-altitude operations, and the avionics suite was planned to include cutting-edge navigation, communication, and countermeasures capabilities. Despite all these advanced features, the XF-108 faced significant challenges. The cost of the program rose dramatically as engineers discovered new issues related to heat management, structural fatigue, and the complexity of the radar and missile systems. Meanwhile, American defense priorities shifted as ballistic missiles became a more pressing threat than long-range bomber fleets. With intercontinental ballistic missiles becoming the primary concern, the idea of a giant, Mach 3 manned interceptor began to seem less practical. Funding for the Rapier was cut, and the project was cancelled in 1959 before any flying prototypes could be built. Only mock-ups and partial components were completed. Even though the XF-108 never flew, its technological legacy lived on. The radar and missile system developed for the Rapier became the backbone of later U.S. Navy air defense aircraft. The aerodynamic research contributed to the design of the XB-70 Valkyrie, the State Route 71 Blackbird, and other high-speed American aircraft. Lessons learned in heat-resistant materials, engine development, and long-range interception strategy all influenced future programs. Many aviation historians consider the Rapier one of the most advanced aircraft concepts of its era, a machine that was simply ahead of its time and cancelled due to shifting geopolitical realities rather than technical failure. The XF-108 Rapier remains a symbol of what could have been, a long-range interceptor with unmatched speed, revolutionary avionics, and unprecedented reach. It stands as a reminder of the boldness of late 1950s aerospace engineering and the vision behind extreme performance aircraft that pushed the limits of technology. Though the Rapier never took to the skies, its innovations helped shape future generations of American fighters and interceptors. Its story continues to capture the imagination of aviation enthusiasts who appreciate the combination of engineering ambition, Cold War urgency, and technology.